Particularly, I'm bullish on commodities. There are a lot of commodities there. We don't have any Russian stocks right now in our funds or our managed accounts, but that may change. As I said, I bought some personally. But yeah, I mean, I think there's upside there because again, there's a lot of resources, and I'm very bullish on resources. I have been for some time, and we're starting to see that. I mean, you can see that now. There are resources that have been moving up. I mean, I'm bullish on copper, bullish on nickel. I mean, it's not just gold and silver. And I've made more significant investments personally in those metals. "401k." So somebody's asking me, Jordy Brasilia is asking me about his 401k. They don't have any gold funds, so he's trying to pick from what is available. Again, if there's no gold fund, you can look for a natural resource fund. If that's available, if that's not available, you can look at your international equity funds and take a look at some of those funds if you can see some of the holdings. I mean, I would always try if you're stuck, if you've got a 401k and your options are limited, try to see what you can do to get more invested globally into the emerging markets, into commodity focused investments. And you can always talk to your employers about expanding your investment choices, potentially trying to get your employer, if it's not your own company, to add the Euro Pacific funds as options. Can be done. Of course, that wouldn't mean it would just be an option for you. It would be an option for everybody in the plan. Of course, not everybody has to avail themselves of that option. It's just nice to have the option. And then if you want to take advantage of it, you can, but obviously anybody else could as well. Let's see. Any news coming? So I haven't seen any big reports coming in. Stock market is surrendering some of its gains now. Dow's only up about 60 points. So maybe that would suggest to me that Trump's odds are slipping a bit from where they were. Although, again, the market seems to think that no matter what happens, it's bullish for stocks. But that rally, I think, is past. I mean, everybody already believed that regardless of the outcome. I mean, the only outcome that seems to be problematic is the Republicans keeping the Senate and Biden taking the White House. And, that is a possible outcome. I think that's more likely than Trump winning the White House and the Republicans taking the Senate. I think if Trump wins, the Republicans keep the Senate. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm sure that's the way it's going to be. But I think if Biden wins, it's more likely that the Democrats take the Senate than not. But again, I think all these outcomes are bearish. The market is so overpriced. I mean, look at the rally off the March low. I mean, how can the market be more valuable now post-COVID than pre-COVID? Especially when a second wave is right around the corner. And look at all the massive amount of debt that has been taken on during this pandemic, and how much more debt is likely to be taken on even after the pandemic is over. And we may now have a new playbook for how to deal with any kind of flu that's going to come in, because they're going to be here. I don't know that we're going to learn from our mistakes. I mean, we have a history of repeating our mistakes, not learning from them. I don't know that we've ever learned from a mistake. All we do is make bigger mistakes. So, I mean, this could be the new normal. And so this is all bad stuff. By the way, the stock market has now slipped back into negative territory. So we have wiped out the entire rally. But, not much activity in metals. Let's see if the dollar is selling off a bit. Not really. I get a little bit. I think the dollar is a little bit off its highs right now. But no real pattern to what's going on here in the markets. But it is a little exciting that, I was thinking that just Biden would win, but I'm starting to think that maybe maybe Trump has a shot. I mean, so it's good. You get a little, well, I guess, that's what happens, right? During the election. I still think that probably not. But again, I never said that Trump couldn't win. I never said it was impossible. I just looked at the probability. Just like, 4 years ago, I didn't think Trump was going to win for sure. I mean, I wish I'd have been bold enough to say he's going to win for sure. Even though I kind of thought he was, it just seemed that the odds were so stacked against him based on the polls that I couldn't ignore that and just say, look, he's going to win for sure. But I thought that it was more likely than not that he would win, and he ended up winning. But, I mean, the favorite doesn't always win. I mean, sometimes the long shot comes in. I mean, it happens. That's why people bet the long shots, because sometimes they win. And so I kind of had the same feeling this time, only in reverse. I didn't think it was impossible for Trump to win. I just didn't think it was the most probable outcome. This time I thought that the most likely winner would be Biden. I wonder what the dynamic would have been had the Democrats nominated a Kamala Harris, at the top of the ticket, or, an Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders. I mean, how that election would have shaken out. Because I think there was some comfort in the fact that people didn't perceive Biden as being that radical. Although he was a very bad candidate, I think if the Democrats wanted to nominate just a not as scary Democrat, there were a lot of people that they could have nominated that would have been a better choice than Biden. It just shows you how shallow the talent pool is over there, that Biden was the best they could come up with. But still, I mean, the country is a mess. And, the electorate's not that smart. That is the problem. And they're not getting any smarter. In fact, it's actually the reverse. There's a lot of new people that are voting in 2020 that weren't old enough to vote in 2016. And most of those people are not voting for Trump. I mean, some of them are. But I think more of those young people are voting Biden. And that's part of the problem. They don't know any better, but they're able to vote before they know better. And I know the Democrats want to lower the voting age. That's one of the things they want to do. They want to make it 16. Hell, they'd make it 12 or 10. I mean, they'd have people voting from birth, right? I mean, it's pretty easy to get the votes of preschoolers, right? Just promise them, free toys. I mean, that's, and then they're going to vote for you, right? More Halloween once a week, or, it's whatever. I mean, it's easy to get a kid to vote for you. And so that's what the Democrats want. All right, what do I do with my questions here? From 07 to 09, there was an 11 trillion decline in household net worth. Versus 3.2 trillion, I guess, during Q. Do you think that the broad money supply will increase more quickly than deflation? Yeah, look, the money supply is already increasing much faster now with QE4, QE infinity, whatever we're going to call it, than it was increasing during the period of the first 3 rounds of quantitative easing. And as I said, I mean, by definition, this is how it has to be. Right? The bigger the drug habit, the more drugs you need to sustain it. And that's why that it's going to end in collapse, because there's a limit to how much drugs you can take before you die, right? You can't just keep printing ever increasing quantities of money and expect the money to have value. But every time the government inflates a bubble, they need to inflate a bigger one when that one pops. And at some point, the bubble kills you. You can't do this forever. You can't have ever increasing bubbles and do that, in perpetuity. At some point, you've gone one bubble too far, right? You got the bubble that breaks the camel's back. And I think the one that we just had is it. I really can't imagine blowing up a bigger